The culture war that we've endured over the last decade has had so many casualties, it's hard to keep track. Starting with Ghostbusters 2015, taking an old franchise and desperately forcing it to appeal to a modern audience, replacing talent with volume and expecting the same result. The Force Awakens destroyed every creative thread of the original Star Wars trilogy and took a gigantic dump on all of its characters. Leading to The Last Jedi, a movie so incomprehensibly badly written it started a revolution, launched the careers of countless YouTubers, and changed the standards of online media discussion forever. Amazon shat the bed and invested $1 billion into one of the biggest piles of shit I've ever seen, taking the greatest trilogy ever made and staining its legacy with a retarded prequel, creating one of the most obnoxious characters in all of fiction, and providing some of the most embarrassing backstories they could have possibly come up with, by having Mount Doom created by some old man who stinks of piss and wine, and turning Sauron into a fuckboy with a giant forehead. The list of character assassinations and crappy interpretations can go on forever, but if I had to choose one franchise that's the most unrecognizable, it would have to be Star Trek, an IP that went from being the gold standard of science fiction and one of the most respected series of all time, to a pathetic teen drama in space, a bum version of Degrassi, hiding in a Star Trek skin, and continuing the pattern of flaunting the aesthetic but missing the heart, the purpose, and the vision it took to create an idea that lasted for over 60 years. And instead of trying to capture a piece of that magic and create something special for whatever fans it has left, Starfleet Academy has just about as much substance as Jersey Shore. Empty, one-dimensional characters, paid to either look pretty or act stupid. And instead of a theme of innovation and exploration, this show's only philosophy is man bad, woman good. An entire crew of cadets training to be the next generation of Starfleet officers, and a great opportunity to show the amount of discipline and sacrifice it took to mold the iconic characters of the past. But all of it wasted on this pathetic, boring excuse for a show.
You bored? Class not riveting enough for you?
And I want to take the time to compare it to a scene that made great use out of a similar format. Having a group of students in training used as a tool for characterization, and I can't think of a better example than the chunin exam from Naruto. The story begins with the ninja village on the verge of being destroyed by a mysterious demon, and in order to protect his people, the leader of the village sacrifices himself to trap the creature inside of his newborn son, saving their lives and giving his child unlimited potential if he can eventually manage to control its power. But the major twist of this show is that Naruto has no talent whatsoever as a ninja, and is the laughingstock of his entire class, creating an interesting premise for a character from the very beginning. Seeing him forced to grow up as an orphan with no knowledge of the events, and an entire village of adults that hate him knowing what he represents. And the series focuses around his goal of becoming Hokage, the strongest ninja in the village, in order to gain their respect and acknowledgement, while learning to live with the monster inside him. Placed on a team with his biggest crush and most hated rival, the opportunity for drama was perfectly set up as they entered the chunin exam in order to progress to the next rank of ninja. The students are given 10 questions and 10 points to start with each question awarding an additional point. And any student suspected of cheating will be deducted 2 points, and passing or failing will depend on the total points of each team. Sakura reassures herself, knowing that even if Naruto gets 0, Sasuke and her can pick up the slack, until the instructor gives them their final rule. He informs them that they have 1 hour to complete the exam, and the final question will be revealed after 45 minutes.
Naruto, 0点だけはよしてよ.
Sakura is able to answer the questions with ease, showing what she lacks in strength, she makes up for in knowledge, while Sasuke was able to come to the conclusion that based on the rules that they explained, and the fact that he doesn't understand a single question, the purpose of this exam must be to test their ability to cheat, allowing him and several other students to display their ninja techniques.
自覚通過して。なるほどね。よし、教えてくれ。
Young shinobi from great houses, using the powers passed on from their families to gather intel, or creative thinkers constructing original methods on the fly. The unique rules of the exam gave us a chance to see their different styles and personalities, and show how all their abilities can be used outside of combat, setting up several future payoffs and introducing over a dozen new characters. All while the show's protagonist shits his pants being the only one in the room who hasn't figured out the true purpose of the test. The instructors internally praise some of the impressive tactics put on display, and banish the sloppy cheaters who put no thought into their methods, before revealing the final question, and putting even more pressure on the teams, explaining that each student has to decide whether or not they will answer the question, and if they get it wrong, their score will go to 0, and they will never be eligible to apply for the chunin exam ever again, immediately crushing the spirit of the entire room, resulting in over half the class leaving, even convincing Sakura to quit, to preserve Naruto's goal of being Hokage and not wanting to be responsible for ruining his dream, only for him to finally have a moment of redemption, and show that what he lacks in knowledge or skills, he makes up for with sheer will and determination. Cementing something that would be his defining trait throughout the entire series, breaking the nervous tension throughout the room, and raising the spirits of his fellow students as they all await the final question.
残った全員に第一の試験合格を申し渡す
So after all the stress and anxiety, there was no final question. The added pressure of sabotaging your teammates, along with the uncertainty of the rules, created more than enough tension to weed out the weak, and the ones that remained were worthy of proceeding. And we find out their instructor is the head of the torture and interrogation unit, and someone who speaks from experience, as he removes his headband and reveals that his skull is covered in scars, nail puncture wounds, and burns, all signs of severe physical torture, and painting a picture for the young shinobi of how valuable information truly is, as it can be the difference between life and death. And testing their ability to cheat and gather information was only to filter out the ones that are lacking in those abilities. But the true purpose of this exam was the final question, as there will always be missions that you cannot avoid, times where you don't have enough information, and the potential to jeopardize your teammates. And anyone who wavers and decides to try again next year is lacking the mentality you need to be a true ninja.
ここ一番で仲間に勇気を示し苦境を突破していく能力
An incredible lesson and inspiring speech, setting the foundation for their careers and mentally preparing them for battle as they enter the next phase of the exam. And as the instructor collects the papers at the end of the test, he notices that one student managed to pass with an entirely blank page.
渦巻きナルトか本当に面白いやつだ
A series that truly understands how to balance tone. A textbook example of creating an endearing and relatable protagonist, while taking full advantage of the format to set up other characters and plot threads. Coming of age storytelling at its finest, and a writer that's focused on developing a story, instead of just a stupid message.
次来いよ次いってらっしゃい
空気
Now, let's compare that to Shipfleet Academy. The story begins on board a Federation ship with a young boy named Caleb being separated from his mother, who's on trial for theft. But since the heist she was a part of resulted in the death of a pilot, she received a harsher sentence than expected, sending her to prison and leaving Caleb in the hands of the Federation to be raised as a ward.
Don't trust them! Don't trust them!
Tatiana Maslany puts on a better performance in 30 seconds than her entire stint as She-Hulk, giving us everything we need to set up a decent foundation, as there's so much you can do with this concept. What is it like growing up in the hands of an enemy, and what can it do to a person?
Captain Nala Austin confirmed.
Well, never mind. Apparently the kid who's been hugging his stupid teddy bear this entire scene is somehow smart enough to escape a Federation ship, trick its captain, and avoid detection for over a decade. Not a good start, but here we are.
Find him!
So we skip 15 years forward to a criminal Caleb, still searching for his mother, and finally being recaptured by the Federation because they suck at their jobs. And the captain that sentenced his mother apparently resigned in disgrace after what she did, even though she had every right to do it, based on the scene we watched. She claims that she made a terrible mistake and has spent the last 15 years looking for him, and offers him a chance to redeem his past and clear his record by joining the Starfleet Academy.
When you and your mother were separated.
Separated? Is that what you tell yourself?
That is not what I tell myself.
They don't explain her change of perspective. They don't explain how he survived or how he feels about this or where he even got these skills in the first place. We get nothing. They both act like it never happened and it never comes up again, as the series is mainly focused on the cadets in training to be officers, with a quirky captain and a psychotic drill instructor there to torture anyone that has a penis.
Who do you think you are speaking with, boy? You are in the presence of Laura Thok, daughter of Ashmeret, from the Klingon house of Dakhatash and the Jem'Hadar lineage of Kabaj.
Who?
200 push-ups. Now! I said now! Right now!
An anime aimed towards children and teens still had the good sense to have a believable instructor to get across an important message. But Star Trek has fallen so low that its only priority is showing strong women in power, to the point of taking a race like the Jem'Hadar that are genetically engineered to be male, but making her a woman anyway because having a girl boss in every scene is more important than respecting the lore.
You call that a lunch? Lower, cadet! Lower! down! To the mat, cadet! To the mat!
So much like the chunin exam, we have a group of young students competing to advance their careers, and showing the bias that will be the foundation for this show.
Genesis Life, captain of the Interbase Youth League, 5 years and change.
And top of her class, and student ambassador to the Model Fed Council.
Not easy being an admiral's daughter.
Takes daddy issues to a whole new level for sure. Also makes losing out of the question.
So there are two teams, each with a mascot. The mascot protects the target, and the goal is to score points by shooting the target.
What kind of mascot? What are we working with?
Shut up, you stupid man. Let her finish.
What we're working with is 100 push-ups. Now!
But before they can begin the game, they need to pick the team captain. So Durham, our toxic male for the episode, faces off against Lythe, the empowered female.
Target 1, tie. Target 2, tie.
But like the typical evil male he is, he uses his dirty man powers to get the win.
Target 7. Good focus. Tie. Making those daddy issues work for you.
What did you say, you piece of shit?
Target 8, Rainy. Rainy is your new calendar captain.
Possibly the best example of this show's disgusting bias and pathetic agenda, as the writers can't even remember what happened in the beginning of the episode.
Not easy being an admiral's daughter.
Takes daddy issues to a whole new level for sure.
She was the one who brought up the daddy issues, and she was proud of it, you fucking morons. Yet now you're trying to use it as a weapon against her. How did you mess this up this badly?
Takes daddy issues to a whole new level for sure. Also makes losing out of the question.
They're so concerned with making him an asshole and her a victim that they don't even remember her dialogue. You want her to be oppressed and empowered at the same time.
Takes daddy issues to a whole new level.
This is the crap that makes people gravitate towards anime, so they can watch a story in peace without having it poisoned by gender politics and pathetic pandering, to the point where they can't even keep track of their own script.
The offensive plan is just me. Have faith in your captain.
The game is supposed to prepare the team for real-life combat, and instead of devising any type of logical strategy, they go out of their way to make Durham an over-aggressive idiot that throws the match by trying to do everything himself.
Stay back and give me cover fire. What? Take him out! Take him off! What is wrong with you? Guys, are we even trying?
Just so they can have Lythe take over to show the boys how it's done. Using the most simple strategy to get the win, but having the show treat it like divine intervention.
Boom!
3-1.
That's how you do that!
It's so on the nose that it hurts, and does nothing to endear me to these characters or flesh them out further. And after seeing that her plan worked better than his, Durham takes his ball and goes home to cry like a little bitch, as the other team pours salt in his wound.
They found a strategy that works. Replacing you.
As Caleb, our protagonist and main POV character, does absolutely nothing and is barely a factor in this episode because this show has no idea what the hell it's doing, wasting the only narrative thread that had any value and focusing on these worthless idiots instead.
What in the sweet name of Konosh is this?
The instructor in the chunin exam was written with care and had a major effect on every student with just one scene, teaching a lesson that's truly close to his heart.
これが中任という部隊長に求められる資質だ。
But in Shitfleet, nobody gives a fuck about anything. There are no lessons to be passed down, no meaningful speeches or clever subtext. Just a bunch of stupid wine moms and an angry dinosaur who won't stop yelling.
You will pay! You will pay with blood, sweat, and shame!
Oh, shut up!
And the saddest part about all this is I'm not even a Star Trek fan. But even I know the effect that characters like Kirk, Picard, Sisko, Janeway, and so many others had on the fans of this show. And now you're stuck with Lieutenant Lesbian, General Foot Fetish, and Captain I Hate Men. Characters designed for representation rather than inspiration, and will never be mentioned again after this terrible show. Having a long history with the other rookies made the jokes flow naturally and captured that feeling of the first day of school, planting future seeds with small interactions. But this show has done so little to establish its characters that they're forced to rely on Marvel-style gag humor, leaving you with no understanding of the tone they're trying to achieve. Too painfully stupid for Trek fans and too cringe for their target audience. With a script that is constantly being strangled by a feminist message, instead of having the skills to show what both sides can offer. Sakura was the only one in her group who didn't need to cheat and was smart enough to figure out the advanced questions on her own. But even with all that knowledge, she would have failed the exam if it wasn't for the determination of the one teammate she had the least amount of faith in. An incredibly meaningful interaction without speaking a word to each other, and earning the respect of his peers for the very first time.
Yeah!
But in Shitfleet, the only idea they can come up with is making the man a worthless fool in order to prop up the woman. The same bullshit they've been doing for the last decade. Putting the development of the main character on pause in order to give us a lecture, and doing absolutely nothing to show their growth as a team.
They are not concessions. These are
Star Trek is now more childish than classic Naruto. I don't know how it happened, but it's true. The drop in maturity and intellectual quality within this series needs to be studied. I'm so sorry to all the Trek fans forced to suffer through this cancerous slop, in the hopes that one day they find a way to course correct and create something that's worthy of a fandom this loyal. But as long as that stupid muppet Alex Kurtzman is in charge, then Star Trek is truly fucked.
With the first link, the chain is forged. The first speech censured, the first thought forbidden, the first freedom denied, chains us all irrevocably.
The chain is forged. The first speech censured. The first thought forbidden, us all irrevocably.
The first thought forbidden, the first freedom denied, chains us all irrevocably.
The first thought forbidden, us all irrevocably.
What the fuck are you talking about, man?